Will YouTube last forever? I was thinking about this the other day because technology is relatively new. Even YouTube is only 20 years old, even though it seems like it's been around forever at this point. Since the creation of the internet, which I'll put on the screen right here, basically 1993 because that's when it was publicly accessible, there's been many different search engines and social media platforms that you've probably never even heard of. I had never even heard of them. The ones you do know about are obviously the most popular ones. The ones that have gotten dethroned that you would probably know about is like MySpace, Bing, ones like that. But generally speaking, Google, YouTube, and then your social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those, they've been around for like 20 years now and they haven't been dethroned. So the reason I'm making this video specifically on YouTube is because now with technology, the future will look very different. You'll be able to view history in a different way. Like with it, where history stands today, you can read books about it, but all that is reading it. It doesn't really bring it to life. Whereas now where we stand in 100 years from now, or not even 100 years from now, take 500 years from now, they'll be able to view videos of this time, which is very interesting because if you ask me, you know, who the first president was, George Washington, or you know, who created the light bulb, I'd know the names of these people and I might even see like a drawing or some like black and white picture, but it'll be completely different. You know, someone looking at Elon Musk 500 years from now, they'll be able to almost understand who he was as a person. This brings in a whole different element to history because you'll be able to see or hear these people's voice, you know, see their personality, all of that. Which, as we all know, connecting a name and a black and white picture to somebody, it doesn't really do the justice in understanding them. Also, it could get even crazier than that in the future. Who's to say 500 years from now, there's not, you know, with the Neuralink and different chips installed in your brain, that now, you know, generations later after that, their history, their understanding thought patterns and, you know, exactly how people operated. But what I do wonder is how long will YouTube last? I'd imagine that if you're watching this video in 2025, it'll probably be around for the rest of our lives. However, I do think with the continuous advancements with technology that it will probably be dethroned at some point. I would imagine that 500 years from now, YouTube will probably be ancient. So with this being said, I do think it's important that we take this into account and kind of document all of this. We are right in the beginning of this in terms of the bigger picture. I was actually thinking about this the other day as like a business idea of creating some type of app or website that is almost like a virtual history book, because the way YouTube stands, at least, you can't really, I guess, go back and view it year by year. So I think, you know, humanity, we need to create something that you kind of document, almost like I said, a virtual history book. I don't know exactly how you would implement everything, but that's just kind of my general idea. If somebody's watching this and you do create it, keep me in mind if it takes off. I do have some software engineer friends that, you know, who knows, maybe I'll get something going there. But yeah, I think we do need a vault. You know, I think YouTube kind of serves that purpose, which is where this video idea came from. But the question is, how long will YouTube stick around? Because YouTube's main purpose isn't to serve as a vault. Realistically speaking, their purpose right now is just to make as much money as possible. I don't think they'd be focused on anything like that. So I went into ChatGPT to ask it if it thinks YouTube will be around in 1,000 years, and it said no. Here's ChatGPT's response on the screen right here. It basically said that very few man-made creations have lasted for that long. It was also saying here that the internet as we know it could also become obsolete and it would just be replaced by some type of brain interface. And also that no modern corporation has survived 1,000 years. And this is just speaking for 1,000 years because in the bigger picture, we're talking, you know, for as long as humanity lasts, you know, let's say 10,000 years, you know, further than we could even really comprehend. Who's to say they wouldn't want to look back at these times? And I actually, somewhere I was reading on ChatGPT that the files could be different, stuff like that. And then I guess, yeah, it even, if the internet's not even existing, then I don't know, you know, YouTube definitely wouldn't be around. Unfortunately, the same goes with the vault that I was talking about before. If someone were to create it, I think that it would probably be overruled by the evolution of technology. But I still think it should be created because that's kind of out of our control. If we create the platform, then future generations could update it. I also asked ChatGPT just about 100 years from now, and ChatGPT thinks that 100 years from now, there won't even be screens. It'll be direct-to-brain media. What you're reading on the screen right now, if you are reading it, that's just kind of scary. Honestly, I doubt this would happen in 100 years from now. I don't put it past like 1,000, but I mean 100, that would be kind of crazy. Although technology really does advance quick. As I said in the beginning of this video, you know, the internet was only publicly accessible. It only started in 1993. So the fact that we're just about a little over 30 years later, which I mean, if you compare the technology in 1993 to 2025, it's night and day. And we already are starting to see how much, you know, YouTube Shorts and TikTok has affected attention spans. Just imagine what's coming in the future. I'd be curious to see what happens in the future, but I honestly wouldn't really want to live in it for too long. So I'm very content with the times that we're living in right now, specifically speaking about technological advancements. But to circle back beyond like the whole vault thing, YouTube as a whole, I think that I also read on ChatGPT as well that like I think that they would probably save some of like the more popular content, probably the, you know, like the Mr. Beast videos and other more popular videos. I'd imagine they'll probably have that saved somewhere. Another thought that popped into my head when I was thinking about all of this was, let's say YouTube was around for, you know, 1,000 years or whatever. Would they have enough storage? Because so YouTube videos, they're saved on the cloud, specifically Google's cloud. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, you know what, at a point, there just has to be too much out there. So basically there's massive data centers like around the world, and there's actual physical servers that these videos are stored on. So at a point after like 1,000 years, you'd imagine it would be like an overload of data. But then I was reading more into it, and it was just basically saying that due to further advancements in technology, that there will probably be a more efficient way to store this data. But yeah, these are just some thoughts that I was having, so I wanted to make a video on it. Also, by the way, I graduated college in marketing, so by no means am I in computer science or, you know, an expert on the cloud. So, you know, if anything I said was wrong in any way, you could correct me in the comments. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what you guys think about all of this, everything I said. I think it could spark a good discussion in the comments, so definitely don't hesitate. And again, if somebody does create this vault that I was talking about, you better keep me in mind. If I gave you the idea, circle back, just throw me a quick milli. Maybe a couple milli, actually. That's all I got for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.